This conversation is a continuation from last week's message. God, please remember me. Now, I'm going to do a general, if you will, recap for those of you who didn't get a chance to listen to last week's message, but also to make sure I can bridge the gap between this particular subject and the two other subjects I have for this conversation. And the first subject was remember. Last week we dealt with the word remember. And the word remember is defined as just simply awareness. Awareness of someone or something, having the knowledge of someone or something. And during this message, I know we're asking the question, is God forgetful? Because we have to keep using this word remember, because I told you remember is in the Bible, the New and Old Testament, over 240 times. I told you last week that God is not forgetful because God is God. And that the reason he uses the word remember is because God does not live in time. God lives in infinity. And so when he sees our issues, when he's made a covenant with our forefathers, God is just simply stepping into your season, into your timeline, and he's honoring that covenant that he made with them and with us. And so, no, he's not forgetful. We are. I mean, look at what's happening with Israel. Israel is enslaved for over 400 years. And so they are forgetting their covenant with God for 400 years. I mean, you'd think that after the first 100 years, somebody would wake up and say, well, hold up, let's stop this, let's stop this. But then here comes 200 more years. And then here comes 300 years. And then here comes 400 years. And they're still in bondage. That's like you and I. We're still in bondage. Most of us are still in bondage, still living like we're in Egypt, serving their gods and serving their idols, because we are a peculiar people and we're always searching. So no, God is not forgotten. No, we've forgotten him. See, that's the problem. We're great deflectors and deflecting any conversation, but God is God. There's a story in the Bible of a certain man who comes to Jesus and he asks Jesus to deliver his son who has a lunatic spirit. And Jesus asked him one question. Jesus asked him, do you believe? Do you believe? No, listen to this, because this is very important, because this is the same question we're being asked right now as well. Do we believe? And the man, he pauses, he hesitates, because he's thinking. You see, he's not into his pride, into his ego, like we are, because we jump in and say something real fast. Ooh, let me answer that question, Jesus. Ooh. We just rush right on in like a mighty roaring wind. And we miss it every single time. Because this little member, this tongue of ours, is always trying to spat out something. It's always trying to celebrate itself. But this certain man who has a need, he pauses for a moment. And he's thinking to himself, I'm quite sure, that Jesus must see a deficiency inside of me. He must see where I'm lacking something to ask me that question. Do I believe? And so while he's pausing, he answers the question this way. He says, Lord, I do believe, but help my unbelief. Now, that's how humble we should be. That's how humble he was. He was humble enough to make that profound statement. I believe, but help my unbelief. And this is where we should be, as I'm recapping last week's message. We should be in a position to where we should be saying, Jesus, I'm saved, but help me to remember. Here's that word again, remember. To have the awareness that I'm saved. Because I'm out here in these streets. You know you are. And I'm doing some stuff that I shouldn't be doing. I mean, I'm hanging with some people I shouldn't be hanging with. I mean, I'm out here right on the edge of the border of this world. Yes, this world. And I'm walking a tightrope because I'm not really pulling them over with me, and I'm trying to stop them from pulling me over with them. But I'm right here because my friends are still over here. My family is still over here. And so I'm doing some stuff. I mean, I'm doing some stuff I shouldn't be doing. And so I have to wonder sometimes. I do believe, but but help my unbelief. I mean, I'm saved, but help me when I think I'm unsaved sometimes. So, but more importantly, bless me to remember. Yes, every morning I get up, bless me to remember that I do believe, but help my unbelief. I am saved, but help me to remember that I'm saved. Because sometimes I kind of lose it a little bit. Sometimes I'm kind of wild and fancy free. And let's not talk about what I'm saying. Let's not talk about the words I'm using out of my mouth, because I'm telling you, if you were to hear what I'm saying, Lord, whew, yeah, I would question me too. So bless me, Lord, to remember that I'm saved, so I can guard my mouth, because right now I'm out here cussing and fussing. I mean, I'm running with the best of them, and I'm a born again believer. I'm a bad representation is what I am and what I've become. Yes, I'm a bad witness to those who are around me. Instead of pulling them, they're pulling me. I told you, this question is for all of us. Do you believe? Just focus on that for a moment. Do you believe? Do you want God to bless you to remember that you're saved? To remember that you said yes to Him? To remember that you made the vow to Him? Yes. That you confess that Jesus is Lord, and that you believe in your heart that God had raised Him from the dead. You see, it's a matter of the heart. And for those of you who are not saved, listen to me. This is an opportunity for you to give your life to Jesus Christ. See, some of us are running around and we're crossing our fingers and say, yeah, God, I'm saving. And yes, God, I'm going to do the right thing. But we were crossing, and God knows your heart. It's not about what comes out of your mouth, because that can be so deceptive. Yeah, your tongue, this little member, can be so deadly. But your heart, yeah, God knows your heart better than you do. When you think you're tricking or deceiving Him, you're just doing it to yourself. He knows you. He knows you better than you know yourself. As we read verse 25, Exodus chapter 2, verse 24 and 25 is where we pick up this message. And God heard the groaning, and God remembered His covenant with Abraham, with Isaac, and with Jacob. Verse 25, and God looked upon the children of Israel, and God had respect unto them. Let me read this again just a little bit slower. Verse 24, and God heard. God is hearing the groaning. Here's this fourth, if you will, generation. After 400 years, here's this generation who decides to make a change, a shift, that we've been doing something for so long and it's not working. We've been serving the wrong God for so long. We've been worshiping their idols for so long, and it's not working. They decide to make this shift, if you will. And they remember the covenant. Yes, they remember the covenant their forefathers had made with God, and God had made with them. Somewhere there's a shift in a mindset, not of an individual, but of a whole group of people, a whole nation called Israel. God heard their groaning. Watch this. And God remembered, hear their word is again, and God remembered His covenant with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And verse 25, and God looked upon the children. See, He heard them, and when He heard them, He remembered His covenant. Yes, He remembered His covenant. He's in infinity, and He steps into time, into their season, and remembers the covenant He had with their forefathers. And when He looks at them, guess what? They have shifted. They have changed. They're no longer chasing Egypt. No. They're chasing God, because they remembered there's something greater in my Father's house than out here eating and slop in this hog pen. That's what they remembered. And watch this. And the Bible says, and God had respect unto them. And that's what we're going to base this message off of today. God, please respect me. And God had respect unto them. God looks and He sees their affliction. He sees their oppression. And He makes this statement as He's getting ready to free them. He says, let's make a memorial. Now, hold up, God. A memorial? That's normally when you've done something exceptionally well. That's when you've had some great achievement. Yes, let's make this a monumental moment. I don't know about you, but you need to make a shift. After 10 years, after 20 years, we don't have this 400 years. That's 4 generations. You only have 1 generation to live in. You need to make that shift. Because a lot of us are just like Israel. We're just living. And if you're not careful, you'll just be living for 100 years, for 200 years. I'm talking about your generation. You'll just be living for 10 years, for 20 years, for 30 years. And you haven't made a shift. You haven't made a change. And your children will come right behind you and do the same thing. Just be living. Just living life to the fullest. I went to college for 5 years. And I'm not proud of this, but I'm telling you, I didn't go to church not one time during that 5 years. I was just living the college life, just enjoying my life. Like many of you, just living. I told you I have 3 points. Remembering is the first one. Because remembering is connecting. It's a connection, if you will. It's connecting your past to your present. And that's a beautiful thing because you don't linger there. You just connect the two. And then from there, you leave an inheritance to your children, to your children's children. It's like going to the family reunion and you meet some people you've never seen before. You maybe meet some step sisters and some step brothers, but you meet some uncles and some aunts and some cousins that you didn't know existed. I mean, that's remembering. It's a memory, if you will. That's a power connection between your past and present. And then there's a word, rehearse. Rehearse. We don't really deal with the word rehearse because rehearse can go 2 ways. You can rehearse some things until you rehearse yourself into unforgiveness, which births pain, which from pain becomes curses. Or you can rehearse in a way to where it becomes performance. Yes. It becomes forgiveness. It becomes production. It becomes a blessing. There's 2 ways to look at it. And then the last one I want to do is respect. And God had respect unto them because respect is unconditional love. Respect is unconditional forgiveness. Respect is honoring the commandments of God. Now, I know some of you look at me, well, Donnie, hold up now. I mean, those commandments are not in the New Testament. Well, they are. They are. You just don't see them, but they're there. The question is asked of Jesus, what are the greatest commandment? And Jesus answered the question by saying that thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. Vertical relationship. Look at that. That covers the first 5 or 6 commandments. And then he says the second one is like unto it. He says that thou shalt honor thy neighbor, shalt love thy neighbor, if you will, as yourself. Vertical, up and down. Love the Lord thy God, all thy heart, soul, and mind. Love thy neighbor as thyself. That's horizontal. Isn't that the cross? Isn't that all 10 of those commandments? That's just a side note for you, okay? That's just a side note. Just keep that there. But keep in mind, rehearsing, remembering, and respect. God is not forgetful. No, he's not. Let me switch this a little bit. Just stay with me. Every time you log on to your computer or your cell phone or your social media account, every time you log on, we are all assisted by what's called a search engine. It's a dynamic, robust, if you will, algorithm system, kind of like a concierge at a hotel. I mean, this person has all the answers, and that's your search engine. Be careful that you're not sitting on Satan's search engine, okay? Because a search engine is built by man for man. It's this big old robust, if you will, algorithm that anticipates your thoughts. It anticipates your needs. It anticipates your wants, your desires, to the point that you don't even have to remember for yourself. It remembers for you. You can put your brain on pause if you want to. I mean, that's what's going on. That's how big that algorithm is. That builder has put that engine in such a way, that search engine, yes, Satan has put his search engine in such a way that you're going on and you're browsing, looking for what you want to look for. And before you know it, your thoughts, yes, your search has been hijacked. And you're looking at what they want you to want. And so now your appetite is changing. And so you're searching over here, a place you didn't even intend to go into. See, what's happening here is someone is thinking for you. That's what's happening. Now, that has to be scary. I mean, just think about it. When was the last time? Because we're all using all these devices. I mean, all of us. I mean, we're trapped on them. For the most part, some of you are addicted to it. But when was the last time you had your own thoughts. Yeah, you heard me. When was the last time you had your own thoughts? Let me ask you just a little bit different way. When was the last time that you unplugged from all of your devices? And I'm not just talking about electronic devices. I'm talking about all your devices that you give yourself to daily. When was the last time you unplugged from all your devices and you gave yourself permission, listen to me, to think for yourself, to think independently? When was the last time you did that? When I was younger, I carried this little black book around with me, and I had about 100 phone numbers, 100 addresses in it. I mean, I could remember all of my family and friends' numbers by looking in this little book. Well, guess what? That little black book, that's obsolete because everything we need is done for us now. We just have to just trust. Watch this. Trust this technology. Now, many of you are trusting technology. You don't even trust yourself. No, you don't. What connects us from there to here is our capacity to remember. Watch this. Out of the bucket of our memories. When we give it up, we've given up everything. Let me give you some examples of how memories keep us connected. I remember when I was 12 years old. My mother used to work at this motel cleaning rooms, and she'd work all day long, and she'd finally come home. She'd walk to work 2 miles to work, and she'd walk back from work 2 miles. And in the evening time, I would see her coming, and so I'd run out to meet her. And she'd be walking through this trail that's winding through this old dry brush pasture, if you will. And I'd see her from a distance, and I'd see this beautiful smile on her face when she sees me as a connection. And she, when she'd get to me, she'd embrace me and she'd hug me. And I remember looking down at her legs and saying, wow, my mama's all tatted up. She got all kind of tattoos running up and down her legs. I didn't realize that those were called varicose veins. From her standing all day long, cleaning up those motel rooms. From her walking to work and walking back home every day. You see, she was showing me the roadmaps on her legs of all the pain, of all the standing, of all the work she's putting in to help support her family. Now, I'm just sitting there hugging and embracing her. I'm just happy to see her because I realize that now she can come home and she can put her feet up and rest. But hold up, watch this. No. She had just finished working at one job. She was now getting ready to work for her children, for her family. At this time, she had 10 children. That's a lot of caring, if you will. 10 children working every day, walking to work back and forth every day. And so as I was looking and thinking about this, I was just looking at how strong she was. And she never complained. Never complained. Not once. Not to me. Never complained. And I realized that that's what mothers do. They show up and they show out every single day. That's what they do. And so years later, watch this. Years later, I told you the word remember. It connects us, past and present. Years later, I'm in Dallas, Texas, and I'm working, and my wife is pregnant with my second child. Now, she's got a baby in the crib, and she's got one in the stomach. And it's freezing outside, and we only have one car. And I couldn't see myself putting my wife and my children in harm's way because it's freezing. The highways are just jammed with snow and ice, and it's dangerous outside. And so I remember I rehearsed back to what my mother did. Yes, I rehearsed back in my mind as you think about it. I turned my remembrance into rehearsal, into performance, which equaled, watch this, production. I covered myself up the best I could, and I walked 10 miles to work to keep my family out of harm's way. See, that's me remembering what my mother did. Now, to me, that was easy for me. I was young, full of energy and strength. And I didn't have any varicose veins. No, my legs weren't tired. I just needed an example before me. I needed to remember to reflect on someone who's done something similar in my past. So when we look at the word remember, it is so important because it teaches us to have faith, to have hope, to be encouraged. When you leave out the room, what do people remember about you? What did you leave them with? Do you remember the first time someone witnessed to you about Jesus Christ? Do you remember the first time you accepted Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior? There's a song that comes to mind when we look at how awesome God is. We look at how much strength he's given us. And this song reminds me of God because it says he's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the whole wide world in his hands. It goes on to say he's got rain and the wind in his hands. He's got the little, watch this, bitty baby in his hand. God has all of us. He's got you and me, sister, in his hands. He's got everybody in his hands. God's got the whole world in his hand. This song is a reminder to all of us that God is in control of every aspect of his creation. God has the whole world, the entire universe, all of his creation in the palm of his hand. Because the God we serve, yes, he's omniscient. The God we serve, he's omnipotent. The God we serve, he's omnipresent. I mean, we serve a God who's all-knowing, who's all-powerful, and who's all places at the same time. We serve the only living God who is able to do exceedingly abundantly above all that we could ask or think, according to the power that worketh in each one of us. God's hand can hold the entire world. That's how big our God is. My hand can't hold me. I told you, I can't hold nothing with this. It just can't support enough. You see, be careful limiting, and that's what we do. We limit God because of the size of our hand, because of the size of our thinking, because of the size of our opportunities, or because of the size of our bank account. We limit God based on the size of things versus based on the size of his hands, the size of his promises to all of us. So the next part of this message is the word rehearse. And I told you that rehearse can go two ways. Rehearse can be rehearsed to the point of unforgiveness, to where it gets into pain. And some of you worship pain. I mean, some of you rehearse pain so much it's become your best friend. And it can go to a curse. But rehearse can also go to performance, to production, and to a blessing. It just depends on how you look at it. Think of the worst thing that's ever happened to you. And what I want you to do is, I want you to look at how you rehearse that in your mind every single day. You see, some of you are just thinking about an issue that's happened to you. And I mean, there's some issues that's happened to all of us. I won't put labels on any of them, but you think of what's happened to you and how bad it was. And think of how much time you give that every day. It's like that hamster on that wheel going round and around. Every day you have this in your mind of what happened to you, and what you're trying to do is you're trying to fix it. Now, what's happened has happened. You can't fix what's happened. But in your mind, you're trying to fix it. You have all these questions and all these answers for what should have happened, what shouldn't have happened, and what you should have done. And so you're going inside of your thoughts now, and you're trying to fix something that's unfixable. You're trying to fix what happened, and you can't do that. But in your mind, you're trying to do it. So you're rehearsing that thing every single day, and it's wearing you out. And that's where pain comes in. And now you're in this cycle of pain, and you can't get off this merry-go-round. You can't get off of it. And then you become to venture into the avenue of curses, because you've allowed yourself to get so depressed and so down, because you're trying to change something that you can't change. I heard it once said that if you listen to a speaker speak, you will retain about 30% of what he said. But if you write down what he said, you'll retain about 78% of what he said. Now, if you listen to what he said and you write it down and you go home and rehearse it about 7 times, you'll retain about 99% of what that speaker said. That's what you're doing. You're rehearsing way too much in your head. Yes, you're way past 7 times. You're 7 times 70 by now. And so you're rehearsing that thing in such a way that now it's unproductive. You're unhinged. Yes, you have unforgiveness in your heart. And so now that thing is turning into so much pain and so much chaos. And you're cursing you and your whole family because of it. Let it go. You're holding your husband responsible for what happened to you 20, 30 years ago, 40 years ago with other men, other boys. You're holding that against your husband. Yeah, you're treating him like he's them, like he's your daddy who abused you, who misused you. That's not him. But you're stuck on this wheel, Yes, of rehearsing this thing over and over. And so you take it out on what's close to you. Isn't it something? We hurt those who are close to us more than anyone in the world. That's what we do. Now you can flip this though. See, there's hope. You can flip this rehearsal thing. There's nothing wrong with rehearsing for a small season, but then turn it into performance. Yes, to where you have forgiveness in your heart and you're making it productive, and you're being blessed because of it now. You defeated it. You flipped it. Yes, from where it could have harmed you. No. You stood on top of it. You dominated it. Don't let it dominate you. Because that's what rehearsing will do. Rehearsing will make you sick. It will make you look back in such a way that you will destroy everything that God has for you. I made the statement to God one time, don't let me rehearse, because I can mess up and rehearse, because let's be for real, I can rehearse a whole lot of things in my head. I've done it before. So I'm telling you from experience. I had to stop rehearsing things, because let me tell you something. I found myself saying, hold up, if I can rehearse, and if I could fix this in my rehearsal in my head, I might well rehearse myself out of being saved. So whoa, hold on. I didn't know I could think like that. Hold up. Let me quit rehearsing in such a way that I curse myself. That I curse myself to rehearse myself out of my salvation. I don't think I want any part of that. I don't think you want any part of that either. Take a chill pill. Yeah, talk yourself down. Remember, your past, come on, has prepared you for your present. It has equipped you for your future. That's where we are. We build on top of things. Don't let things build on top of us. No way. And then we get into this last part of the message, respect. Respect is unconditional love. Wow. It's an unconditional forgiveness. God respected, he had respect for Israel because they turned from their wickedness and they turned towards him. They started celebrating him. They started worshiping him. And God remembered their forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. The Lord is just asking us to do one simple thing. That is to confess with our mouth that Jesus Christ is Lord and believe in our heart that he has raised him from the dead. That's all he's asking for, because everything else falls in place like dominoes. If you can respect yourself, guess what? Then God can respect you as well. You've got to give something to get something. Israel gave respect, and God gave them back respect as well. God says, let's make this, watch this, let's make this a monumental moment. Let's build a memorial. Can God say the same about you? Do you have so much respect that you can respect yourself enough? That you can love yourself enough? Because when you think about it, we have always said that the number one thing that messes up a marriage is money, sex, or power. It's not the number one thing. The number one thing that messes up your marriage is respect, or the lack of respect. Someone's not being submissive. Someone's not loving. You've got two people trying to be controlling. You have two alpha dogs in the household. That won't ever work. It's hard enough to have two adults in the household trying to make it work. And then you put two alpha dogs, you put two people outside of their roles trying to play the other person's role. We've got a problem. That's why you have so many divorces, because you have someone, yes, you have someone who wouldn't submit. You have someone who wouldn't love as they were ordered to love. You have both people trying to be the alpha dog in the house. You have both individuals trying to wear the pants or trying to wear the dress. You take your pick. The times we live in right now, it's happening both ways. But that's what's happening to us. We talk about respect. Yeah. We have to respect each other. If we want God to respect us, we have to show that we're respecting his image. That man is God's image. That woman is God's image. When we don't respect God's image, how's God going to respect us? Israel bowed. I pray that you know how to bow. I pray that you know how to have some humility and ask God to yes, I believe, but help my unbelief. Yes, I'm saved, but bless me to remember that I'm saved. Women, your child, your daughters especially, your daughters are asking to be your best friend around the age of 12, 13, because it's a cool thing. It's a culture thing. And you're jumping on the bandwagon. Oh, this is my best friend, your daughter. Watch this. When she gets older, she's going to come after you. She's going to have a problem with you. You know why? It's because you disrespected her. Well, hold up. No, no, Donnie, she wants this. No, 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 no. But you're the adult. And she's going to put that to your attention that, Mama, you were the parent. How'd you let me be your best friend when I needed a mother? See, things are going to happen in her life where she's going to need a mother. And it's hard for a mother to pray for her best friend when she's praying for her best friend. She needs her mother praying for her daughter. There's nothing like a mother praying for her child. But when you're praying for your best friend, that's a little different. Women, grow up. No, I'm sorry. You ain't got time to be your child's best friend. Now, when she gets 40, 50, come on. Nothing wrong with being best friends then, because you're all behind that childbearing age. But to treat her like a best friend, immature, an adolescence, and that's your best friend, you've lost your mind. No, what you've done is you've lost respect for yourself and for your child. Train up a child in the way they should go. When they get old, they will not depart. How can you train up your best friend? I'm just giving you something here, okay? I'm just giving you something. We're talking about respect. Addictions. The reason addictions are so strong is because the addict rehearses the addiction in his or her mind over and over again. They rehearse the problems daily in their mind over and over again. And so to try to drown out that rehearsal, that problem, that issue, they use drugs or whatever the addiction might be. It could be sex. It could be money. It could be power. But they're making new memories. And watch this. Those new memories are erasing the original memories. And that's why you stay addicted. It's because now that's overpowering what you really once had. We seem to be going as a country in the wrong direction. When you look at it, you would think by now, we're one of the most intelligent generations that ever be born on the face of the earth. We have so much luxury. We have more than any other generation has ever had before us. And to me, we're going in the wrong direction. I mean, when you look at it, we have over 10,000 distinct, watch this, religions in the world. That's men and women searching. I told you about that search engine that Satan has. You look at it, we've got a billion, watch this, a billion viewers each day looking at TikTok. That's our children searching. We've got gender identity turbulence. That's men, woman, boy, and girl searching. We've got an LGBT plus community. That's mankind searching. We got Black Lives Matters. That's searching. We got uncommon things. That's mankind searching. We've got the news media, which is sensationalizing everything, every story. And they're just searching for viewers. And we're looking at things and we're saying, boy, we're living in unprecedented times. No, we're not. No, we're not. We're living in prophetic times. That's what we're living in. We're looking at and living in prophecy being fulfilled. That's what's happening. You better wake up and smell the coffee. You better make sure that you believe and that you have enough sense to get off your prideful horse and tell God that to help your unbelief. You better make sure that you have a good mind to remember what he's done for you with his son, Jesus Christ. You better have a good mind to rehearse those things to be productive and not to be in this mold of pain and curses. You better have enough respect about yourself to where God can respect you as well. And he can deliver you and open doors for you. I just pray, yes, that you become like Israel and God remembers you. I just pray you become like Israel and God respects you. Don't forget Romans 10:9. Confess with your mouth that Jesus Christ is Lord and believe in your heart that God has raised him from the dead, and you too shall be saved. You be blessed.